You're listening to Alternative Future Radio, home of the weird, resting place of the paranormal. We'll take you to the furthest reaches of the galaxy and beyond. Strange phenomena, aliens, psychics, cryptozoology, conspiracy, holistic health, and UFOs. Alternative Future Radio, where spooky just got weird.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the Out There Hour. Very special guest today, lots and lots of very good information. You're going to like this one. Not a lot, but you will.
There's nothing much to do on Dagobah, so I mostly listen to Basil and Mark on their Out There Hour show on Alternative Future Radio.
Thank you, Yoda.
Thanks, Yoda. Anytime. I like this. Skype just popped up and said, "You've got a lot of background noise."
Oh, we sure have.
You reckon?
We've got the sound of the Empire in the background.
I would reckon.
Good morning.
Good evening.
And good afternoon.
God, I hate doing that.
Welcome.
You're just so artistic. I have to keep doing that every week.
Africa, Europe, and the Middle East.
Yeah. Great show today. Paul Westwood returns to the show. Today, he's going to be talking about the David Kelly, what should we call it?
Yeah, well, the UN Arms Inspector, Dr. David Kelly. Mm-hmm. Many dark actors playing games.
Oh, go on.
Something he mentioned in an email shortly before he died.
Ooh.
To a friend.
Oh, yeah, so well researched.
Well. Yeah, we were barraged with so much media, so many deaths.
Yeah.
Celebrities. Arms inspectors, bankers. It's very hard to keep up.
Can I tell you a curious, interesting fact?
Please.
I talked about this the other day, actually, with a previous guest, Carol Rosen. We, or should I say I, have been looking for guests for the show, and I've been trolling at various other radio stations.
I've been looking.
Get this, though. I've been contacting people who've been on all sorts of shows, like Coast to Coast AM and all that. People, they're well-known people. Half of them are dead.
Wow.
About 40%, I would say. I got an email back saying this person is dead.
That's a bit shocking. I didn't realise.
Heart attacks and things, usually.
Heart attacks?
Yep. Yeah. Very, very strange.
So, Dr. David Kelly, he came out in, what year was it?
2000,
2000, I think.
No, it must be later than that.
To talk about how the Tony Blair government at the time had, quote, sexed up the...
the dossier.
The dossier about the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And mysteriously died.
He did.
Suicided himself.
Yeah.
Shortly after. I hope people don't forget Dr. David Kelly, because he was a very brave man.
He was, yeah.
It was a very great thing he did.
Shall we bring Paul in?
I think bring Paul in straight away.
Before you bury yourself?
Yeah.
Before you suicide yourself on air?
Yeah.
Paul Westwood, hopefully we have you on the line. Do we have you there, Paul?
Hi, Mark.
How you doing, Paul?
Not bad yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. You are from Yorkshire, so we have to give you the Yorkshire greeting. Hey up, Paul.
How do?
How do?
Hello, Paul. It's Basil. It's very good to speak to you again.
Hi, Basil. You all right?
I'm from London, of course, so anything north of Watford is Yorkshire to me.
Yeah. Yeah, they greet each other by kissing each other on the cheeks or something. I'm not sure what they do.
We're all lovies down there.
Yeah.
We're all soft.
Southern softies. So, Paul, Dr. David Kelly. What's that all about?
Yeah. Dr. David Kelly, he was, as you mentioned earlier, he was a weapons inspector. And he worked for the Ministry of Defence.
Yeah.
And his job was to basically inspect countries that had arsenals of chemical weapons, nuclear weapons, and try and prove if they were breaking any treaties or anything.
Yeah.
He spent many, many years in Iraq, looking for any signs of chemical weapons.
Right.
That the government has said for many years that he'd got a stockpile of chemical weapons, and he was using them on his people. And then it came to fame really in 2003, Dr. Kelly, when he spoke to Andrew Gilligan
from the BBC.
Off the record.
Journalist from the BBC.
Yeah, from the BBC off the record. It was discussing the government's dossier, which was drafted up to actually the intelligence report to go to war against Iraq.
Later known as the Dodgy dossier.
Dodgy dossier, yeah. And in this dossier, there was a claim there from intelligence sources that Iraq could launch an attack on a chemical nature within 45 minutes.
Yeah, I remember it.
It was also hinted that the possibility that they had a nuclear capability.
Yeah.
There was reports that weapons had gone missing over the years in Iraq. They obtained one of these, but the main concern was their chemical capability.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. David Kelly just said he spent many years in Iraq, and he found no evidence of any chemical capability from Saddam Hussein. And he questioned this. He told Andrew Gilligan in off the record, and he said, "I can tell you my feelings, but you must not reveal my identity to the press or the public or to the government," which Andrew Gilligan agreed to. So he said he had concerns that Iraq had no 45-minute capability. He said he didn't think that they could launch an attack so quickly. He even doubted they had any chemical weapons capability at all.
Yeah.
Well, subsequently after that, Andrew Gilligan did a news report and mentioned the dossier, and it was revealed that Iraq had a 45-minute capability to launch an attack. He said that he got this from a source. He wouldn't reveal it, but the government was up in arms. You can imagine that the embarrassment this caused the government at the time, and it was also a possibility that it could have brought down the government.
Yeah.
Because there was many people against the war.
Oh, there's about a million people, I think, protesting, wasn't there, on the streets of London?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a major uproar, and they wanted to know off Andrew Gilligan and the BBC who this source was that told them that they had a 45-minute capability.
Yeah.
They wouldn't reveal it initially, but they kept pressing, and eventually the BBC did reveal certain information that pointed to their identity.
Yeah.
And eventually, one of the press and the media discovered it was Dr. David Kelly.
Yeah.
So he was dragged into this inquiry initially to ask questions and why he didn't think that the actual Iraqi government didn't have any capability. Well, he basically said that the dossier was sexed up.
Yeah.
There were certain elements made up.
Exaggerated.
Exaggerated and give the government the go-ahead to invade Iraq.
I mean, that's quite a big. That's quite a big thing in itself.
It is.
That tells you that the government want to go to war for a reason other than to protect themselves.
It's a huge thing.
Yeah, I mean that tells you a lot about the nature of the government.
This is why we can't let this lie.
No,
There was after oil. That's the main thing. I think it was after oil or something else.
Yeah.
Or destabilising the Middle East for whatever ends.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the other countries like Syria, they're standing by. They're not doing anything, basically.
No.
Iraq, they wanted to get in there no matter what. You know.
I think they got the world's third largest oil reserve, if I remember correctly.
We see that they're using the same excuses to go into Syria at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, not the same, but, similar.
Yeah. So, Paul, you were saying that he appeared before this. I think it was a select committee type thing, and he was dead not long after that, I believe.
Yeah, a few days. I think it was a few days later. He was found dead, and he was found dead on the 18th of July 2003.
Yeah.
Well, his friends and family said that he committed suicide because of all the pressure that was brought upon him.
Yeah.
that was being investigated for revealing that this 45-minute claim was false.
Mm-hmm.
And the government was extremely angry that they denied they was responsible for the intelligence. And they said that he was under extreme stress and with all the embarrassment and the actual interrogation by MI5 and MI6, which he had, and a security style.
Oh, sorry,
interview.
Paul. I didn't realise he had been interrogated by MI5 and MI6.
Yeah, he had a security service style interview.
Really?
Which is quite traumatic.
Yes, it is actually.
And that really, this friend pushed him over the edge, and he committed suicide. Now, some of his friends said that he obviously spent many years in Iraq under extreme pressure.
Extreme pressure.
The Iraqis didn't like him for what he was doing. They were exposing their plans to gain chemical weapons, which they didn't have.
Yeah.
But he was always pushing his nose in where they didn't want him to go, and he could have been taken out any time there.
Yeah, he was a stranger in a foreign land back then, wasn't
he? Yeah. There was occasions where he was working in Iraq, and he had a red laser dot pointed at his forehead, which, from a sniper somewhere, basically saying to Dr. Kelly, if you go too far into our affairs, you'll be taken out.
Wow.
Yeah.
This never happened. He was under extreme stress, and after this select committee,
yes,
he was planning to go back to Iraq to carry on his work.
That's how perturbed he was.
Yeah, he was telling his friends that he was planning to go back to Iraq by email, and he was in fairly good spirits considering what had happened. But he was in no way, according to his friends and family, ready to commit suicide, which is, this is where it's all started from.
I think that's very important to point out, Paul, and I'm glad you're making a point of that so early on before we even get to the supposed suicide scene.
Yeah, I mean, you really, there are a number of dubious elements of this, and the first dubious element of the whole thing is his suggested mental state. I mean, this guy was used to pressure.
Yeah,
he worked under pressure. Yeah. He was very intelligent. He was used to leading other people and so on.
And you know what? He had support. He had a lot of support around him. A lot of journalists, a lot of other doctors.
Now, people do commit suicide who are seemingly strong-willed, so I mean, we can accept that it's possible, but do we accept that it's probable?
He was a great family man. He looked after his wife and his daughter. I don't think he would have done anything to leave them at that certain time.
It's certainly...
I wouldn't,
it's
being
certainly
a father.
Unlikely, certainly.
It would keep you going, the thoughts that you couldn't leave your child
behind. Doesn't
behind.
Stop some people, but it would be less likely. You would have to say.
There was no. He had no history of suicidal tendencies or depression or anything like that.
Yeah. Sorry, go on, Paul.
Well, his mother did commit suicide. Or he thought many years ago that his mother did commit suicide.
Right.
Okay.
And the skeptics say that this, because they say suicide runs in the family, and they say this could have brought on his suicide. Or as a part of suicide because his mother had done it in the past, and it was sort of in the blood, as it were. But I don't wear that at all. And
doesn't sound great. That
I don't think suicide is hereditary.
I don't think so. How could it be?
No.
So anyway,
I don't believe that.
So so we've established that it's rather unlikely. Suicide is right, but never mind. And never mind that. Let's get to the scene of the suicide, where it gets more unlikely.
It gets more bizarre, certainly.
Yeah.
Well, on the evening, I think it was 3 o'clock. It was 3 o'clock on the 17th, the day before it was found. He said to his wife he was going for a walk. He went for a walk every day at this more or less the same time. It was like a British thing to do because he was very patriotic and British, and he liked to go for a walk in the evening.
Yeah.
He left his house at 3 o'clock, which usually took him about an hour.
Yeah.
And after about over an hour, he hadn't returned. His wife at this stage didn't really consider, we didn't really think there was anything wrong with that. And as the time went on, he'd not returned. It was getting late and dark, and his wife hadn't actually done anything about it at the meantime. I believe his daughter went to try and find him, followed the same route that he would have taken, and couldn't find him. A few of the villagers in the small village had seen him walking towards the woods, but didn't actually speak to him.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, and then it got to midnight, at that late hour, that his family contacted the police and said he'd gone missing. And due to his status as a weapons inspector, they obviously took it very seriously, so they launched a search. Initially searched his house. While they were in the house, they asked his family and his wife to leave the premises.
Wow.
And his wife has said that the police stripped the wallpaper off inside the room.
Oh, how strange.
Now, the only reason they would have done that is possibly that elements of MI5 and Special Branch were looking for monitoring devices.
Yep.
For bugging device and such.
Yeah.
They carried on the search, and they couldn't find him. They apparently used a police helicopter with a heat-seeking camera. They can pick up anything from as small as a mouse. If you see these television programs on the TV, they're very, very sensitive. His body would have still been warm. Against the background heat.
Yeah, surely.
It wasn't that far away from his house.
Yeah, and it was July, so it wouldn't have been cold.
July, so they would have seen the body heat, and they didn't a day, so they didn't find it. But the interesting thing is Thames Valley Police have launched an investigation called Operation Mason, which incidentally started at 2:30. Kelly didn't leave the house for 1500, 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And there was questions why this Operation Mason was launched in the investigation into disappearance.
So they opened the investigation before he was reported as missing.
Half an hour before he actually left
Thames Valley Police.
That's pretty bloody suspicious. That must be documented, I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's all there. It's all documented. It was there in the Hutton inquiry. It's all there.
I mean, if there was a 3-9's call with a date on it and a time, and they knew what time this operation started, surely that, you would hope, would be massive news the world over.
Indeed. It started before he was even reported missing. And when Thames Valley Police were questioned about this, they said it was operational requirements to have to do things when somebody goes missing.
Yeah.
But that's been found not to be the case, and there's questions been asked, and they think that the security services and Special Branch knew that somebody was out to get Dr. Kelly.
Right.
They knew that someone was after him, and the police and the people were put on standby in that area to mop up any mistakes, as it were.
Wow.
Whoever did this. And that's why it was launched at half an hour before he left his house. So the police and the security services knew that Dr. Kelly was in some kind of trouble. Didn't really do anything to help him.
Interestingly, when I was at school, we studied Kennedy's assassination, and there was mention there that his death was revealed, I think, in the Far East in newspapers before he died.
Yeah.
Some schmuck in some office somewhere got the time zones wrong.
You're correct.
Well, they believe that one of the main theories is that the Iraqis had sent out an extermination squad to assassinate Dr. Kelly because of his involvement with the WMDs.
Well, so they say.
If there was a assassination squad on the loose, the suggestion is that the security services knew about it and let them get on with it. Basically doing their work for them.
Yeah.
That's one of the main theories, but there's a suggestion that MI5 and MI6 were involved.
Yeah, I'd heard people talking about potential involvement of CIA and Mossad, and pretty much every organisation under the sun seems to have had a piece of this cake in somebody's mind.
It's been suggested to me that the way the surveillance services work is that the CIA would spy on British and the MI5 would spy on American. citizens to for reasons of what would they call it?
To avoid plausible deniability.
Yeah. So a CIA involvement wouldn't be.
There's another theory which is rather controversial. Dr. Kelly was involved, obviously, in nuclear weapons.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the inspection of those. One of those had gone missing, and there was an investigation onto that, and it was suggesting he may have knew where it was. The major one that's rather controversial is that he was involved in a project called Project Coast, which was based in South Africa.
Mm.
And what Project Coast was, it was a chemical biological project which was used by apartheid.
Mm.
No, the other the South African white South African government at the time. There were scientists there developing chemical weapons which targeted specific racial people.
I've heard of this kind of thing before, yeah, sort of ethnic viruses and things.
Ethnic viruses, ethnic cleansing. There was these things being developed to target the black people in South Africa.
Right.
And Dr. Kelly was involved in some way, and they feared that he was going to spill the beans in some way, and this was going to cause some major embarrassment, major destructions in countries worldwide, because the UK government was involved in some respect, and the CIA.
Crikey.
So that's one of the major things that they think he may have been killed.
Going back to the actual events of the day, tell us about the scene of his suicide, because there are some unusual things about the way he's supposed to have died and where he was and the position he was in. Do you know much about that, Paul?
Well, it was discovered on the 18th of the following day.
Yeah.
It'd been missing since 3 o'clock. And there was when they sent out a search party, and there were 2 volunteers that actually, with a dog, came across Dr. Kelly's body. When they found him, they said he was slumped against a tree with his left wrist had been cut, and they didn't touch his body, and they immediately went back to the police, met the police, and the police met up with these volunteers. And there were 3 police officers that was there, but one of them, DC Coe, he told the other police officers that he was going to go stay with the body.
Correct.
And that they should go and get help. He was with the body for half an hour. And when the paramedics turned up, the 2 paramedics, they examined the body, and later on, they actually did a press conference later on and said that the body had been moved, and there was nowhere near enough blood from his wound to actually cause death, because they've obviously attended many hundreds of suicides with this similar type of wound.
More blood from a nosebleed, I've heard.
Yeah, the very little blood would have caused actual death.
It was Steve Bartlett and Vanessa Hunt were the 2 paramedics. They gave a press conference sometime later. Yeah. And they were so disturbed by it, they gave a press conference because they, as you say, they had attended the scene of so many suicides, and the amount of blood was not conducive. With bleeding to death.
Yeah.
I imagine, if you can donate a pint of blood, I imagine you can probably lose a few before you even lose consciousness.
Yes.
So, even a pint of anything on the floor makes a big mess. And from what you said, there's almost like an egg cup full almost, if anything.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, and there's also it was said that he'd taken 29 tablets of coproxamol.
Yeah, coproxamol. I've got the post-mortem said he had slit his left wrist, a combination of coproxamol ingestion and coronary artery atherosclerosis, which I assume means he's got little veins.
Yeah. Well, there's some doctors that actually represent the Kelly investigation group headed by Rowena Thursby.
Correct, yeah.
They've looked at the report and they don't believe that he died in that way.
One of them is a toxicologist, I should point out.
Yeah. But they said that one of the actual doctors said if you cut your left hand and the left wrist in the manner that Kelly did, the actual ulnar artery that was severed would release a bit of blood.
Yes.
But it would the actual body's defences would make it shrink back into the body.
Right.
And it wouldn't lose any more blood.
Right.
The toxicology report found that there was only a third of the fatal dose in his body of coproxamol, so there wasn't enough tablets in his body to actually cause death anyway.
That's right.
Ah,
I think is
Lord Hutton was convinced.
I think it's a painkiller, is it, or is it for?
Yeah.
So it's simply a painkiller, and it would take. It was admitted it would take far more than what he had swallowed to kill him. But I don't even believe they were. I don't think they were even fully ingested or digested the pills. I'd heard as well.
There was very very little in there when they actually found out. There's very little in there.
We were talking. We were talking the other day, Paul, on one of our shows about something called the Council, the Atlantic Council. It was one of these little weird organisations that the Rockefellers and such
like the Council on Foreign Relations, and
what Kissinger was in it.
Trilateral Commission and that kind of thing.
Get this, I'm just looking here. The journalist that broke the story in the New York Times, Judith Miller, she was the one who apparently broke the identity. She's in the Atlantic Council.
Ah.
Strange that such a small, low-end journalist should belong to such a grander organisation that's got people like Kissinger in it.
This is an organisation that presented Prince William with a medal?
Prince Harry last week, I think it was.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure why, but they did.
We're not really sure who they are or what they do.
They're a little bit odd. But yeah, this woman, she just happens to be the same woman. I thought I recognised the name. I just Googled her.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
How odd.
I don't know much information on her particularly.
No,
but there's some shadowy organisations that they've got their own agendas, obviously. So yeah. 29 tablets of coproxamol. I'm just reading from his Wikipedia page. It says
yeah, but not enough, Mark, to
not nowhere near enough to cause death. Now. There's some security experts have come forward and said that the cause of death, they believe, was possibly something like a drug that was administered either by injection. It was probably overcome by some attacker and then injected with some drug which is called, if I can pronounce it right, suxamethonium, which it's a muscle relaxant,
right?
And it's used to facilitate tracheal, the actual tracheal them tubes that go down the throat to investigate your stomach and what have you.
Yeah.
They say it was injected with a large enough dose with that, and that's what killed him. And now they're saying that to cover this up, they think he was actually injected in his left wrist. And they've cut his left wrist with that rusty knife to cover up the injection marks. And this drug, when administered, it dissipates quite quickly. So, under a normal autopsy, it wouldn't be found unless you were actually looking for that chemical.
Yeah.
That compound. And things like that. That's how you may have been killed. It was also revealed later that a friend of his, May Peterson, who was a linguist and worked with Dr. Kelly in Iraq for many years, and was a very, very close friend. In 2008, she revealed that she didn't believe Dr. Kelly had committed suicide. And in fact, she said that his right hand, which he was right-handed, his right hand was too weak to cut his left wrist. He had trouble cutting meat up when he was, steak when he was having a meal.
Yeah.
Was extremely weak. and he would have had difficulty in holding a knife.
Yeah. I suppose it's not inconceivable that he could have made an effort, more special effort to do that. Though I suppose it's dubious, but it's not black and white.
But the interesting thing is, the Hutton inquiry, they published their results, and there was no fingerprints on that knife. So
none at all.
Who was holding it? Kelly didn't have any gloves on. So who was holding the knife?
Paul, tell us about the autopsy, because I was surprised to read when I was looking this up. I didn't know this, that it was actually classified for 70 years initially.
Yeah, it was Lord Hutton had deemed that the information in there should be closed away for 70 years to protect the family from any further intrusions. I don't understand that at all. I mean, if I was a family, I would want to know the full details of what actually happened, because Dr. Kelly's wife has always said that her husband committed suicide. She believes that, but deep down, would the family really believe that, with all the unanswered questions?
Yeah.
And hiding this report away for 70 years, that's going to make things worse, more suspicions.
Yeah.
The holding, and they said everything was released in the Hutton report. It was there to be viewed by anybody, the press or anybody. It was public information at the time, but now it's being sealed away. So there's something in there they don't want you to see.
Well, you've moved on to the Hutton inquiry. So, how did that come about, and what exactly was that?
Well, the Blair government immediately launched this inquiry to investigate the circumstances surrounding Dr. Kelly. But it was an inquiry, not an inquest.
Yes.
And the style of the inquiry is the difference. The style of the inquiry, it's on this style has only been used 3 times in the last 20 or 30 years.
Like for a train crash or something like that.
For plane crashes, and it's being used
where there's been multiple deaths.
That's right, multiple victims. It's never been used for one person. Never been used.
That was very unusual, Paul.
Yeah.
That they should use. It wasn't a normal inquest, Mark, exactly at all. They had different rules to what your general inquest.
You would have like an inquest to the Hillsborough disaster or train
for
crash,
David Kelly. They brought in like a Hillsborough disaster type inquest, which didn't really make sense.
It's very big for such a small event.
Lord Hutton engineered this.
Yeah.
Under the rules this inquiry had, they had no real powers to force anybody to give evidence. There was no real power that they had.
You didn't have to give evidence on oath in this particular.
They didn't have to give evidence on oath.
Oh.
No, there was no provision to give evidence on oath. So essentially, you could be lying and not get done for perjury.
Yeah, so there's no real...
That's the difference.
Yeah, there's no real way of knowing if the whole thing wasn't completely fabricated from beginning to end then.
And DC Coe, who actually stood with the body for half an hour, wasn't called forward.
That seems very strange, because he'd be the first official on the scene, surely.
Yeah, because the paramedics said that the body had been moved, and he should have been questioned on why. And what the actual state of the body was.
Sorry, Paul. Speaking of the paramedics, were they called into the? I don't want to call it an inquest because it wasn't an inquest. Inquiry.
They was involved in the Hutton inquiry, I believe. But after the inquiry, they
we're losing you a little bit there, Paul.
There wasn't enough blood there. And the Kelly investigation group. Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit. Nobody, the doctors of the Kelly investigation group, the paramedics, nobody believes that he committed suicide.
No. I mean, if you were a lawyer worth your salt and the paramedics were on the stand and they said, yes, we don't think that the body died there, we think it might have been moved, your next logical question would be who might have moved it or who was there before you, and they should have then said it was DC Coe or the 2 people who were walking their dogs, and all of the above should have been called to the stand, if for no other question than to ask them if they moved his body.
Yeah, exactly. The reasons why if they did move his body, and what other information they could have given, which would have been important.
Did they call the dog walkers the volunteers?
I believe they was. I'm not sure if they were questioned, but
I mean, they discovered his body. I mean, they would be the key.
They called them volunteers.
I think they were questioned.
Yeah.
In the inquiry, but
Seems strange that there was a missing link there.
you have to understand as well that he was part of the CID. But you have to understand that in every major police station, there's a special branch officer
Right.
who are linked to MI5.
Yeah.
If there's some kind of operation going on, they would be. I'm not saying this is the case, but they would be tasked.
Yeah.
Certain people would be tasked to make sure that things were right.
For anybody outside the UK, the CID is like a local watered-down version of the FBI.
Yes,
It's probably
that's a
the
good
closest thing you
description,
could
yeah.
describe it as, really.
It's the criminal investigation department. It's just above the normal police officer, but in every major.
They do murders and things like that.
Yeah. The special branch is for anti-terrorism, and they're below the MI5. So
Yeah.
there's obviously links in these two organisations.
Yeah.
There was an unusual amount of resignations all round. There was the Director General, I think, of the BBC, Tony Blair's spin doctor, Alistair Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Didn't know that.
Alistair Campbell was actually blamed, really, for the dodgy dossier, really.
Yes. Oh, yes. That was his head for that, wasn't it? Yes, I remember now.
Yeah.
It seemed to me, instead of dealing with the situation, there was resignation. So
Fire a few people.
this was the Alistair Campbell. People said was the driving force behind Tony Blair.
Oh, completely.
So for him to resign was an enormous thing, and why?
But of major importance, I think, as well, is that 2 days after, there was a newspaper surfaced in 2010. And I'll tell you what happened, which is quite strange. That I was helping a friend's friend trying to find their father, who had not been seen since the 60s in London.
Yeah.
The only information that I had, was his first name. And I said to my friend, I know somebody who could help. He's a former MI5 agent and possibly still is active in the MI5. I spoke to this person back in 2010. And I asked him, we had a conversation about his previous discussions on various things. And he said he would contact Scotland Yard and see if they could help. Any tips for me in trying to find this friend's father. But the interesting thing is, the following day, this MI5 officer hit the headline news, which I found was quite strange.
Yeah.
There was a former KGB spy called Boris Kapichkov.
Yes.
15 years in the KGB.
Yes.
He was employed by this MI5 officer who was called Peter Everett. Well, Peter Everett, I would say, employed him in his security company.
Yes.
2 days after that Kelly was found dead, Peter Everett told this former KGB spy that Dr. Kelly had been exterminated.
Right.
And he hinted to this former spy that he was still serving as an MI5 officer.
Yeah.
And he said he'd been exterminated. So I found that very, very strange. The fact that I was speaking to him the day before.
Yeah.
And then the day after, he hit the news saying that he believed he was being assassinated.
Just looking at the Wikipedia page about David Kelly, it says that in October 2010, the actual post-mortem was made public, so that'd be the same year.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know how similar the times were.
The whole affair is very, very, very strange indeed. But I'm convinced he was killed.
The doctor that did the post-mortem, if I'm remembering rightly, he actually later went on to get struck off for a different reason for performing incompetent post-mortems, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm incorrect there.
If I'm not quite sure on that, but if that's correct, then I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I'm almost certain. I wish I could remember his name, but I'm pretty sure I remember him being struck off for a post-mortem on somebody else later on, which was seen to be just inadequate, I think was the word I can think of. That's all I can think of. I believe he was struck off.
If he was, I mean, that would have been done because the powers that be were concerned that further information may come forward, and they were possibly trying to discredit this pathologist. So that's how they do things.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned earlier, you just mentioned there about the former KGB agent, and I just see Richard Spertzler, Spertzler, UN weapons inspector, said that Kelly was on a hit list in the final years of his life. But I think what I'm beginning to wonder now, they're alluding to the Iraqis having him on a hit list, and it's not quite what I think we're thinking of, Mark.
The Iraqis could have killed him in Iraq. That would have been the easiest place to do it.
Yeah. I mean, people are always getting killed there.
So the question remains: who did? Do you think?
I would say it was the security services.
Yeah.
With the embarrassment that it caused themselves for false information and the embarrassment towards the government in Tony Blair. And they didn't want to be seen to be warmongers and war criminals. And they thought the best way is to give an example and possibly discredit Dr. Kelly. To say he was of an unsound mind.
Exactly.
And assassinate him. And get the government to save face.
One has to ask the question, who had the greatest motivation?
Yeah, follow the money.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I'm saying this now, but it's definitely government backing this, definitely.
I think the worst thing is to have this whole story dropped or forgotten about, so I'm very glad to be able to bring it up with you today, Paul. I'm
looking up the coroner from his autopsy, and I'm struggling to find it. So maybe I got that wrong. So maybe I did. I have got a recollection that is true though, but I can't find a website to back that up currently.
Yeah, information.
Maybe it was
disappear.
actually. I'm just looking here. Maybe I've got it mixed up with the woman, the person who did Diana's inquest. That's popping up actually when I search for it. If I can find that, I'll post it on the website along with the interview. But I'm pretty sure I remember hearing that somewhere. But it could be hearsay. So, post-mortem then. Sorry. Paul, so after the post-mortem, I mean, that was made public in 2010, so that's still relatively recent. Is there anything else about this whole affair that doesn't really quite add up with yourself? Because it seems to... It's not exactly an open and shut case, but it's dubious enough to warrant further investigation, I would think, at the very least.
Well, it needs an inquest. The fact that the government's refusing an inquest speaks volumes. The Kelly investigation group are pushing for this all the time. There's been a further request by this group to actually have an inquest held, and the government's refusing. Why are they refusing? Because an inquest would give full powers. You'd have to be sworn on oath to give evidence.
Yeah.
Everybody involved would be included. Everybody. And uncomfortable questions would be asked.
Oh, definitely.
They're accountable. The security services are accountable. They can search their records. In the Hutton inquiry, they couldn't do that. The smoking gun will be found if an inquest is held, and somebody will be held accountable.
You see, I wondered, do the public realise that the Hutton inquiry was not an inquest?
It wasn't. It was just an inquiry. It had no powers whatsoever against what an inquest could.
Yeah, I mean, somebody could stand up and say, yes, I think, this agency did it, and nothing would happen.
I think one of the biggest questions is why did they do that? Is what they should be taking the book on.
Sorry. The interesting thing is that an inquest was held initially after he died, but it was stopped immediately, and the Hutton inquiry took over.
I didn't realise that.
Yeah, they stopped it straight away. and that's the only reason, to cover up the tracks.
And
it was a rust job, and
yes.
The mistake was made.
I said you mentioned something that myself and Mark certainly didn't know, and also bears closer examination, how they started the investigation into him missing half an hour before he was reported missing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
they knew there was something happening, yeah.
Do you have any thoughts or theories about the name of the operation being Operation Mason?
They say these operations are done on an alphabetical basis, and M was next.
Right, like hurricanes and things.
I think it was a veiled hint of possibly who else was involved.
Oh, so they're saying it could have been Operation Lollipop.
It could have been anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the hurricane system, whether you use alphabetical names. So.
Boy, girl, then girl name. Yeah.
I tell you what I haven't got on me, Paul. We're talking about Dr. David Kelly, but my goodness, he is not the only mysterious suicide, over the last 5 years or even 2 years.
What about Robin Cook? About this, they were
Robin Cook, the
same incident.
Yeah, over the same incident. Do you have any thoughts on the what was he? The Foreign Secretary.
I believe he was.
He was very anti-war.
Quite high up.
Not to begin with, but when he became very anti-war.
Yeah.
I think if anybody voices their opinions against government policy, or they come into contact with various information of secrecy and things like that, and I think not everyone, but there's certain people that could be assassinated and made it look like it's a heart attack or suicide. I think it's happened. It's happened with Dr. Kelly. It's happened before, and it's going to carry on happening. If somebody gets any information, you've only got to take this recent one with the spy in the bag thing.
Yes, Mark.
They couldn't prove that he'd fastened the holder.
You told me about it. He killed himself and zipped himself up in a bag.
Yeah, tricky that.
They said that, but they couldn't prove that. I think because he was on secondment from MI6 to GCHQ. Yeah, the GCHQ is the spy organisation that listens to all your emails and phone calls.
Yeah.
Let's for instance suggest that he's come across some sensitive information about somebody.
Yeah.
And they thought because of his background he was going to spill the beans, and they thought we've got to act quickly on this. Same with Jill Dando.
Ah, yes.
Oddly enough, yeah, I was just googling I was just googling to try and find out who the hell this coroner was, and her name popped up again.
Yeah, with Jill Dando, they suggested that she's come across some information about somebody.
Oh, I think so, because every book I've read on ex-lags in prison and this kind of thing, I tell you what, it often came up. I think even with Jeffrey Archer, Barry George didn't do it.
Yeah.
He was a complete simpleton. It was just every hardened criminal that's written an autobiography has mentioned his name, Jill Dando's murderer. And so it was just that they knew criminals, and he didn't have it in him. There was something very suspicious about that. So what you guys are saying is she may have come across some information on something political.
Political or anything that's sensitive.
Wrong place at the wrong time, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have to act. They're called... there's a term in the security service called a wet operation, I believe it is. But these things usually happen with short notice, and the mistakes are made. And this is where the conspiracy theories generate, because this is what happens. It's not done properly, and there's sort of botched jobs which leave holes. And this is where you get people coming forward.
Yeah, well,
saying this is not.
It's interesting. When we started, I was just saying that I've been contacting people for the show through a variety of different topics.
Yes,
everything from aliens to government stuff and all that kind of stuff. A lot of them have been UFO things this month. We've had a bit of a theme with it, and I reckon that quite a sizable proportion, more than there should be by chance, are dead, and a lot of them were heart attacks. It's very, very strange. It's beyond chance that so many would be dead.
Well, it is. Yeah, I agree. It's a trend.
A trend.
One of the interesting one is Dr. John Mack, the abduction investigator. The abduction cases. He was knocked down by a drunk driver in London a few years ago.
Ah, yes, that's old classic. the drunk driver, yes.
He had enough information there to go to a court of law and say this phenomenon is happening.
These things are turning into cliches at this point.
Do you know what it seems to me to be like? It seems to me it's not like it's the odd strange suicide. It's like you're overwhelmed with them. There's so many, your head spins. You can't keep up with them. Yeah. Lately,
there's been a few doctors linked to Dr. Kelly that's been found dead.
Oh, really?
Through heart failure. Yeah, one or two of those have died as well.
Look at 9/11. Look at the amount of people who were key witnesses who have died mysteriously since then. Countless numbers, dozens of them, in fact.
Yeah. I mean, that's obvious.
It's unlikely.
9/11.
Yeah, I mean, we all know light aeroplanes are not the best choice if you want to get from A to B in one piece. Yeah. But, so many of them. It becomes beyond... chance, I think.
You corrected my spelling here. Is this worth bringing up? Because I don't know very much about GCHO.
GCHQ.
HQ.
Can't read your own handwriting.
Can you explain that to me,
It's in
Paul?
Cheltenham, I think, isn't it?
Well, who and what is that?
It's based in Cheltenham. It's a government organisation that it's run basically by the security services.
Google it and look at the picture. It's a fantastic building. Looks like a Stargate.
It's to monitor all the communications for anti-terrorism issues and things like that. They've got full powers to check your emails, your phone records, and we could be listening right now on anything that you're doing, basically.
Yeah. Well, even to say the word, perhaps Dr. David Kelly.
And GCHQ in the same sentence would probably put up a few red flags.
We're in trouble.
Yeah, that's it. Hello, GCHQ, how you doing? Go have a cup of tea, treat yourself.
And also, hello, Israel, we know you listen as well. Sorry, Paul, it's an in-joke. We get a lot of strange... we were able to see where people are listening from, and we have some very, very strange locations.
Very weird.
But we'll check out Cheltenham from now on.
Yeah, you're not see their IP address on there.
No, I can't imagine it. I can't imagine them using Cheltenham BT or something.
No.
But GCHQ, they've got thousands of people working there.
Actually, I think I'm not familiar with the name, but I do recall reading in the Daily Mail something about £1 million spent every second on surveillance.
It's something
bizarre like that. This is obviously the crowd.
The amount is phenomenal. You can't do anything now without being monitored. Everybody is.
Somebody released a list the day before yesterday, which I put on our Facebook page if anybody wants to find it, of all of the keywords, the hot words that people might use in conversations and emails that will trigger a GCHQ person to come and read your emails. And the hope was that we would basically all start using them in our signature files.
Dare I say, would you like to mention a few of those?
They were all really obvious, like, Bomb and Al-Qaeda and stuff, but some of them were less obvious,
What were the less obvious ones?
You're putting me on the spot now.
Sorry,
I told you I only do anecdotes. I don't do real research. I can have a quick look and see if I can find it. I'm probably going to bust the connection by doing this.
Oh, no, it's all right. Okay.
But yeah, it's on our Facebook page. You can find that on www.alternativefutureradio.com.
Well, thanks for the information on GCHQ, which I wasn't aware of. What does that stand for? Does anybody know?
I can't remember anymore. Something headquarters, I assume. Communication? Global communication?
I think GCH, I forget myself, but it's
global communications or something like that. Yeah.
Do you feel as an individual in the UK very surveilled yourself, Paul?
Well, you got to. Yeah, I mean, everybody now, virtually everybody, has got a mobile phone.
Yeah.
They can be switched on. The speaker can be switched on while the phone's switched off. As long as the battery is installed, the security service can listen to your of interest to them.
Yes.
For instance, the traffic master road system that provides traffic information.
Yes.
Have you seen those funny-looking cameras that's got like a blue or green shroud on the side of the road?
Oh, we don't have anything like that here, but we'll take your word for it. Go on.
They monitor traffic flow. How they do it is they take a picture of the registration number, and because that's how the camera software recognises that it's a car and relays that forward, so it can show traffic jams.
Right.
But security services have got that information available, and they can track individual car movements, where they're going, who they are, and who they're travelling with.
Very easy to do with that level of technology.
It's all digital. It's in within seconds.
And the newer and the funkier and the better the mobile phone is, the more easier you are traced.
I mean, if people think that's science fiction, it's certainly not, because I know that when I lived in England, they have average speed cameras. And what they do is that they pick an entire town that's got one road going through it, kind of thing, one-horse town. They put a camera at the beginning and a camera at the end, and they put a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit in the middle, and it's sort of 60 at either end of the village. And then if you go through that village faster than 30 mile an hour at any point, it works out that your average speed at some point must have been faster than 30, and you get a ticket in the post automatically. And then that technology is very similar to what Paul's talking about there. They can tell.
What about these street cameras? Are they picking up words as well?
No, I think they're just right
the
off.
street cameras, it's got face recognition software, so if there's anybody of interest, it flags up straight away where this person is.
And that also isn't science fiction, because the guy, I can't remember his name, from Catch Me If You Can, he invented a system they use in casinos for cheats. And it's the same technology. As if you're a cheat in a casino in Las Vegas,
so
get on a plane, fly to Monte Carlo, they'll turn you away at the door.
The camera recognises your face.
The software goes, this guy's banned from casinos worldwide. Kick him out immediately.
But a lot of the mobile phones now have got a GPS.
Yeah.
It's still active even if you turn it off.
Yes.
It can be activated by anybody, by this relevant organisation to find out where you are, and also triangulate the phone mast position with your phone.
Oh yeah, that's easily done if you've got a lot of towers in the area.
And I've heard rumours of your computer can be listening to you as well, or they can listen.
Definitely.
Turned off or not?
Not turned off, no.
There's technology if your screen's switched on.
Yes.
Somebody's out, if the spy's outside with the equipment, they can scan what's on your computer, and obviously they can hack into your computer with ease.
The only thing I find amazing about surveillance in this day and age, we'll leave it there, Paul, but just one final word, is how they can never find somebody when they need to find them, but that might be a topic for another day.
Yeah, well, exactly.
I mean, how could they not find Osama bin Laden? There was 9 of them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Surely you'd find one of them.
He was in my fish shop, I think, a few years ago.
Is that what we've got time for? Because I think we'll
leave Osama bin Laden in your fish shop, and we'll close on that, I think.
Paul, thank you so very much for coming back on. It's such a pleasure.
Brilliant.
I'm honoured to be on here, to be actually on here.
Lovely. I will probably get another topic and get you going on that one as well, Paul. Get you back in future, because we know we've got a few.
We found
topics.
out stuff there we didn't know.
That was interesting.
Yeah,
I like
that was
that.
very good.
Okay then.
Lovely. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
Goodbye, Paul.
you.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again.
The Out There Hour.
That's it, everybody. We are on our way.
Strange case of Dr. David
The
Kelly.
Out
Don't
There
forget
Hour.
him.
Yeah.
Don't forget
Basil
Dr.
and
Kelly.
Mark.
There's more holes in that than Swiss cheese.
cheese.
Alternative
That's
Future
it.
Radio.
We're out of here.
See you next time.
Yay, on the way out. Freaking everybody out.
You're listening to Alternative Future Radio, home of the weird, resting place of the paranormal. Will take you to the furthest reaches of the galaxy and beyond. Strange phenomena, aliens, psychics, cryptozoology, conspiracy, holistic health, and UFOs. Alternative Future Radio, where spooky just got weird.
Good evening.
And good afternoon.
God, I hate doing that.
Welcome.
You're just so artistic. I have to keep doing that every week.
Africa, Europe, and the Middle East.
Yeah. Great show today. Paul Westwood returns to the show. Today, he's he's going to be talking about the David Kelly, what should we call it?
Yeah, well, the
Death.
UN Arms Inspector,
Yeah.
Dr. David Kelly. Many dark actors playing games.
Oh, go on.
Something he mentioned in an email shortly before he died
Ooh.
to a friend.
Oh, yeah, so well researched.
Yeah, we were barraged with so much media, so many deaths,
Yeah,
celebrities, arms inspectors,
yeah.
bankers. It's very hard to keep up.
Can I tell you a curious, interesting fact? I
Please.
talked about this the other day, actually, with a previous guest, Carol Rosen. We, or should I say I, have been looking for guests for the show, and I've been trolling at various other radio stations.
I've been looking.
Get this, though. I've been contacting people who've been on all sorts of shows, like Coast to Coast.
He was using them on his people. And then, it came to fame, really, in 2003, Dr. Kelly, when he spoke to Andrew Gilligan
From the
off the
BBC.
record.
Journalist from the BBC.
Yeah, from the BBC off the record. It was discussing the government's dossier, which was drafted up to actually the intelligence report to go to war against Iraq.
Later known as the Dodgy Dossier.
Dodgy dossier, yeah. And in this dossier, there was a claim there from intelligence sources that Iraq could launch an attack on a chemical nature within 45 minutes.
Yeah, I remember it.
It was also hinted that the possibility that they had a nuclear capability.
Most of the and all that. Oh, people, they're well-known people. Half of them are dead.
Wow.
About 40%, I would say. I got an email back saying this person is dead.
That's a bit shocking. I didn't realise.
Heart attacks and things, usually.
Heart attacks.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very strange.
So, Dr. David Kelly, he came out in, what year was it?
2000, I would say,
2000,
wasn't
I think.
No, it must be later than that.
To talk about how the Tony Blair government at the time had, quote, sexed up the
The dossier.
the dossier about the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And mysteriously died.
He did. mysteriously.
Suicided himself
Suicided himself, yeah.
shortly after. I hope people don't forget Dr. David Kelly because he was a very brave man.
He was, yeah.
It was a very great thing he did.
Shall we bring Paul in?
I think bring Paul in straight away.
Before you bury yourself.
Yeah.
Before you suicide yourself on air. Paul Westwood, hopefully we have you on the line. Do we have you there, Paul?
Hi, Mark.
How you doing, Paul?
Not bad yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. You are from Yorkshire, so we have to give you the Yorkshire...
You're listening to Alternative Future Radio, home of the weird, resting place of the paranormal. Will take you to the furthest reaches of the galaxy and beyond. Strange phenomena, aliens, psychics, cryptozoology, conspiracy, holistic health, and UFOs. Alternative Future Radio, where spooky just got weird.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the Out There Hour. Very special guest today, lots and lots of very good information. You're going to like this one. Not a lot, but you will.
There's nothing much to do on Dagobah, so I mostly listen to Basil and Mark on their Out There Hour show on Alternative Future Radio.
Thank you, Yoda.
Thanks, Yoda. Anytime. I like this. Skype just popped up and said, "You've got a lot of background noise."
Oh, we sure have.
You reckon?
We've got the sound of the Empire in the background.
I would reckon.
Good
Go
morning.
On. Greeting. Hey up, Paul.
How do?
How do?
Hello, Paul. It's Basil. It's very good to speak to you again.
Hi, Basil, you all right?
I'm from London, of course, so anything north of Watford is Yorkshire to me.
Yeah. Yeah, they greet each other by kissing each other on the cheeks or something. I'm not sure what they do.
We're all lovies down there.
Yeah.
We're all soft.
Southern softies. So, Paul, Dr. David Kelly. What's that all about?
Yeah. Dr. David Kelly, he was a as you mentioned earlier, he was a weapons inspector, and he worked for the Ministry of Defence.
Yeah.
And his job was to basically inspect countries that had arsenals of chemical weapons, nuclear weapons, and try and prove if they were breaking any treaties or anything.
Yeah.
He spent many years in Iraq, looking for any signs of chemical weapons.
Right.
That the government has said for many years that he'd got a stockpile of chemical weapons, and